So I'm back once again with ill behaviour. We're going to be talking more about this noise box. You may have seen my recent video where I demoed this device. If not, that's this video here. And it's done rather well. It's got quite a lot of engagement, and I thought it'd be good to do a follow-up. There were several comments and questions which hopefully I've responded to, at least most of them in the comment section, but I thought it might be worth doing a follow-up because there was a lot of talking points that might be interesting to go into in a little bit more detail, because I did gloss over some aspects of this noise box. Before we actually dive into that though, I just want to let you know about a couple of things. So first off, there is another video about this DIY device which was made before the last one, the first one, the other one, when this device was actually being a little bit uncooperative and it was not exactly playing ball. That video is called When Noise Boxes Misbehave, and that's available now over on my Patreon channel. So if you're interested in seeing a bit more about this particular device, you can go over there and check that video out. Also, I just wanted to let you know that the track that was featured in the last noise box video, the jungle track that I made, I've actually worked on it some more. I've made it into a full track and I've done some actual proper sort of mixing with it, so that's finished and that's also available now. There's links below if you want to have a listen to that or purchase it. So that's two ways that you can support what I do here on the channel if that's something that you would like to do. But anyway, yeah, let's get on with today's video. I'm going to talk a bit more about this noise box, mainly the electronics, although we'll touch on some other things. And I might even talk about some of the ways that we could actually maybe upgrade this and improve it. So I suppose I should address some of the comments that were made. A few people mentioned the pickups and suggested reasons why they were not picking up the sound very well. I think there were a couple of comments at least saying about the raising the pickups up so that they were a lot closer to the strings. Now, because of the depth of this top on here, and I have routed out, what do you call them, cavities into the top to sit these pickups into. So that's reduced the thickness of the top somewhat. But even then, I think I've maxed out the upward travel of these pickups. So I don't think that I can actually raise these up any higher. Now, originally, before it was in this state, I did actually have two bolts on either end, which sat a lot closer to the top of the board than this bone does. I just liked the idea of having this bone there. It doesn't really need to be a bone, it could be anything really. So I could change that back to a bolt. There are some other things I could possibly do to help the strings sit a bit closer to the pickups, and I think that would definitely help with the signal. Although it does pick up the strings fairly well. I was mainly talking about that I was a little bit disappointed that the pickup doesn't pick up these springs, and I was thinking because they're metal and they're vibrating above this sort of magnetic field that it would pick up some sound, but it doesn't seem to. So yeah, there's a few things that I could possibly change there. One comment that was really useful actually, which weirdly I hadn't even considered it. Someone was saying that I should ground these strings, which makes complete sense and it should be quite obvious, but as I say, I just didn't think of it at all. So I think I'm going to do that. So what I will probably do at some point is take a ground wire and run it. I may sort of drill a hole through this block here and actually attach it to the metal, something on the metal bridge on this side, which is obviously attached to the strings. So that should ground the strings out. I think that's a really good suggestion. Another thing that was suggested is that someone very with eagle eyes spotted that I was using acoustic strings on here, and they suggested that if I used strings designed for an electric guitar, that may also work better. So again, that probably would help with the sound slightly. So again, that's another upgrade that could be done. That would be very easy to do as well. So aside from that, I think really I want to get into talking a little bit about the electronics. Now, before we actually dive into that too much, I feel I should point out that I am a complete novice when it comes to electronics. I've been watching a fair amount of videos. I've been trying to read up online. There's so many resources these days for trying to find out about electronics, but I am very much a novice. So with that sort of disclaimer being made, I will talk about the electronics as far as I'm able, and hopefully I will address any questions that you might have about this. I'll do my best, is what I'm saying. So where do we start? Well, I'm not really going to talk about the pickups too much. These were from a kit guitar. All of the pickups were already wired to the potentiometers and to the 5-way toggle switch and the output jack, or the output jack has this handy little sort of connector, so literally I just have to plug that in there. I have not had to do any of the soldering, wiring. I haven't really had to think about that at all, so I've taken that as a complete set and put it straight into here. But I think more interestingly, I want to talk about the other sort of three elements in this electronics matrix. To give it a posh word, a rat's nest might be more accurate. So essentially we have three different circuits going on, and they're all separate circuits, they're discrete circuits, unless I physically route the signal from an output of one of the circuits into the input of another. So let's go through these one by one. First of all, we have this contact microphone, the piezo pickup. Now this, I believe, was one I purchased which was already soldered to a potentiometer and an output jack. So again, I didn't have to actually do any soldering here, although you can buy the separate individual parts and wire it all up yourself. It's fairly straightforward. So essentially what we have here is we have this contact microphone, the piezo, which coils around this long coil of wire and goes to the potentiometer, and that gives us a volume control, and then that goes out to our output jack. So what I can do is I can plug a 1/4 inch cable in here, and I can run that straight into an audio interface. I can run it into a mixer. I can run it into some pedals if I want, or any other kind of hardware if I have that available. And that's not being amplified at all. It's literally just whatever signal is being picked up by this piezo. I have a volume control, and then it's going straight out. Now I do have a sort of amplifier module in the electronics, which if I try and separate some of it, so that is this part here. Maybe if I try and zoom in a little bit. I don't know how well that's picking up. Anyway, so what we have here essentially is I have two LM386 boards. So these are little amplifier circuits. You can buy these in, you can get them on eBay and Amazon, and if you buy them in a pack of sort of 5 or 10, you'll probably pay somewhere in the region of like £1 English pound, or maybe $1, $2 US at most, probably. I haven't checked on the prices recently, but they work out at $1 or $2 a board, so they're really inexpensive. I have two of them here, so they're in series. So basically I'm running the output of one directly into the input of the next one, and then the output of that is going to our main output. Now what I have done is I have removed, so if I can show you on this board, we have a little variable resistor here. There was the same thing on this other board. I have desoldered that, or I think I cut that off the board, because I think I tried desoldering it and it was a nightmare. Soldering it is not an easy skill to pick up, but desoldering seems to be even more tricky. I struggle with that no end. So yeah, I cut that off the board, and I've wired in my own potentiometer, which is this one here. So that allows me to adjust the amount of signal going through here. So that should give us a gain boost, and it will sort of help to increase the amount of distortion. Now the other thing, you could essentially do that on both boards and swap this one out and then have two controls. Alternatively, you could leave them as they are, which if you're not very good at soldering and desoldering might be a better option. You're less likely to ruin anything that way, and you can actually take a screwdriver and set the volume or the resistance value that way. Obviously, if it's enclosed in a box like this, you may not be able to make those adjustments on the fly as you're performing, the same way that you can with a pot that you have on top like this. So that's why I've done that, but you don't need to do that. The other thing I'm doing is that on the final output of these two boards, I have two diodes, which are these two red LEDs. So I should just say diodes have a polarity, so they have a long leg and a short leg, a negative and a positive. So these are actually inverted. So one is positive negative, the other one is negative positive, and when you run a signal through it like that, it actually will clip the signal, and that's how you get a lot of clipping sort of distortion in a lot of guitar distortion pedals, as I understand it. Really quite simple stuff. The only other thing I have here is a switch which came off of an old Marshall foot switch, and that just allows me, when the battery is connected, to turn that on and off. That's all it does. And then we have our input and output jacks. So the input goes into the input of the first board, and then the output comes through the clipping diodes and then to the output here. And there's the volume or gain control in that as well. So if I were to take a cable out of the contact mic output, run it into the input, I can then run another cable from the output of there to my audio interface. Has that stopped recording? So, okay, we've talked about the contact mic, we've talked about the amplifier circuit. So now if we talk about the delay, I think these are sort of sold as a reverb or echo unit. I think they were originally used in like karaoke machines. I believe that's kind of where they come from, or where they're widely used. But you can buy these boards They're readily available online. I think I paid about £5 for this. If you buy, more, you can probably get them a bit cheaper than that. So this is a PT2399. So that refers to this chip, the IC. So you can buy the chips separately. I buy them with this board with all these other sort of resistors and resistors, capacitors, diodes, and everything that allows this circuit to do what it does. And I don't need to know or worry about how that works too much. It would be good to know, but when you're starting out, you don't want to run before you can walk. So having access to these boards ready made is really helpful. So I have made some changes. Again, I'm going to see if I can zoom in even closer, and hopefully it will focus. There we go. Essentially, we have the power coming in. We have an input and an output, that's the output. Here's the input. So this is the jack in, sends a signal in, and then it comes out to the other jack, to the output jack. There is a built-in potentiometer which gives us a dry-wet control. Now we could try desoldering this from the board and putting that somewhere on our box if we wanted. That would be quite useful, I think, although a lot of times when I'm using the delay, I guess I kind of like having the signal fully wet. I can always open up the back of the box and set it at a different place if I want to do that. Generally I don't do that, so yeah, you could do that if you wanted. I have wired in another potentiometer. I can't remember where I took this one from. I've taken it from a similar, maybe on one of the previous boards that I managed to destroy, or something similar. And what I've done here, so I don't know if you can see that says R27 there. There's a little resistor, a surface mount resistor there, which if you remove that, and I find the easiest way is to get some sort of needle nose pliers and just rip it off the board. And then what we can do, we can wire in, so we've got the signal and then we've got two grounds, so we can wire that into a potentiometer. This one is, if I can read that, what does that say? Can I zoom in even more? Focus please. So I think that's a B 100K. Okay, so that's a 100K pot, and I've added a resistor. If memory serves, I think this was like a 1K resistor or something in that range, I think. I don't know if this is totally necessary. I think I watched another video of someone using one of these boards and they recommended doing that, so I thought I'd take their advice on that. There is another modification that you can do with these chips. If you connect a cable from the center pin of this potentiometer, and the easiest way to do that if this is still on the board is to do that from the underside, and then you attach that to a potentiometer, and then you take another cable and attach that to the third pin on the left hand side as we look at it. So let me zoom in. So just where, if you can see where that says R22 upside down, so this third pin on the left hand side, I don't know that all these pins are numbered, so if you look on a data sheet for this chip, it will tell you what it's designed to do. So if you wire that cable onto there, again, if you do it from the underside of the board, it's a little bit easier to do, to the center lug of a potentiometer. The cable that runs from the center lug of this potentiometer goes to either of the outside lugs on the other potentiometer, and that will actually give us a feedback control. We can dial in the amount of feedback that we're getting, which can introduce some really interesting effects. So that is a mod that I will probably, I think I would like to do that with this, and so that I have another pot somewhere on the box to give us a feedback control. I'm kind of running out of space somewhat. I might have to put it down here somewhere. I've also hot glued this down to the box, so I would have to sort of wrench that off to get to the underside. So at some point I'll probably do that, and maybe we'll make a video about that. I am in the process of making another noise box, and I have wired that up with the feedback control, so maybe I can just give you a very quick sneak preview. Okay, there we go. That's all you're getting, I'm afraid. But yeah, I am in the process of prototyping another noise box. I think there's some interesting things in there, so stay tuned for that one. So yeah, again, with this we have an input and an output control. It's a discrete circuit, so again I can put a cable in to the output of the contact mic, plug that to the in of the delay, and run that out to my mixer, to audio interface, into more effects units, effects plugins, pedals, plugins, into effects pedals, anything really. It also means I can plug the delay unit into the amplifier before going out to wherever that goes. I can plug the amplifier into the delay, you know, and swap those around, swap the order that they work in, and throw different pedals into the mix in between those two. So it gives me a lot of variety, a lot of variation, a lot of possibilities. One individual did comment on the video asking about if I had given any thought to sort of impedances, and do I amplify the contact mic, and are there any buffers? And the short answer is no. The slightly longer answer is I don't really understand that stuff well enough to know how to modify circuits so that they have the correct impedance and the correct signal voltages and all of that stuff. I really don't understand it well enough at this time. So just for the sake of simplicity, I haven't given that any thought really. I've kind of swept that under the carpet, and you know, I just haven't worried about that too much. Now I think ideally there would probably be input and output buffering. I think ideally this piezo should be amplified to get the best results from it. On a previous video I did have someone comment that you can use two resistors in parallel as a voltage divider to sort of drop the voltage down, which I have done on a subsequent couple of builds, which works quite well. So that will drop the signal level down. It's quite simple to do, so that might be an option. The other way that I tend to deal with it is that I have this pedal here, which is the Bad Monkey, the Digitech Bad Monkey. Now on this pedal, the useful thing about this is it has two outputs. So it has one, I don't know if you can read that, it says out 1 amp, out 2 mixer. So the amp is sent out at instrument level, as if you were plugging your guitar and you wanted to run that into an amplifier, guitar amplifier. The mixer is at line level, so that allows you to run it into a line level input on a mixer or an audio interface. So if I've ever got any concerns about the levels and, you know, things like that, I can run that through this pedal. I can boost the signal a bit here as well if it needs boosting, and I can run that out at line level. So that gives me some options. So if you're like me and you're not particularly clued up when it comes to electronics, that might be an option. Is this the best way of doing things? Probably not. Are there still issues doing it that way? Maybe. Like I say, I really don't know enough. But in my mind, that is a bit of an easy solution. Obviously you would need a pedal that has that functionality, so you know, there may be some cost in that. But yeah, there we go. Essentially, that is how I've set up the electronics on this device. And yeah, I really enjoy using this thing. Okay, so there we go. We've had a little bit more of a deep dive into this noise box. I've talked a bit about the electronics, and no doubt I'll revisit this at some point. Like I say, I'm in the process of building another noise box that I've got hopefully some interesting ideas for that are going to be quite a bit different from this one. And I think there's a good chance I'll probably return to this one, maybe just to make some dark ambient music with, or I can foresee me coming back and making some modifications to this in the future. So you may see this device pop up again on the channel in the future. I just want to say thank you to everyone that's engaged with this topic on the last video, everyone that's commented, liked. I've picked up quite a few new subscribers, which is always nice to see. So yeah, to anyone that's new to the channel, that's newly subscribed, welcome aboard. Hopefully we'll have some more content like this in future, but I guess until the next time, please do go and check out the other video on Patreon, or check out the jungle track that I made using this device. Anything you can do to help out financially and keep this channel ad free is a good thing in my eyes. So if you're able to do that, or just, you know, to like the video, subscribe, comment down below, share it with friends or people you know, it all helps. Just to watch it though, and bump the figures up so that the YouTube algorithms, our algorithm overlords, will recommend it to other people. It all helps. So yeah, with that being said, until the next time, take care of yourselves, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Well, that's you.